So I can let folks know that Stacy Lynn, who's doing a lot of the coordinating on the research side, the funded investigations, project tracking, will be organizing and helping to run these monthly check-ins. So with that, let me hand it over to Stacy to kind of get things moving and then let you know about the fall schedule and get this going.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody to the call. These are regular calls that we hold once a month on Tuesday mornings from 11 to 12. And normally they're, the fourth Tuesday of the month. But if you'll see our schedule, which I have up here.
Are you sharing your desktop?
I'm sharing. Am I sharing my desktop?
Unless you said you were.
No, you're not sharing it. There you go.
I will in just a moment. There we go. Okay. So you can see the schedule at the top of this page here. We have today's talk that Jeff will be giving on climate training plans and opportunities. October 28th, we have lessons learned from the NCPP pilot program that Andrea Ray will be giving. November 18th, America View, deployment of phenocams and research plans by Kevin Dobbs. And then the final one of the fall is December 16th on North Central Climate Science Center Phenology Observations Network that Geneva Chong will be running. So I'd just like to let you know that at the end of this WebEx, this presentation that Jeff will be giving, I'll be asking people or soliciting people to present in the spring. So maybe you can start thinking about that if you're interested. But for now, I'll turn it over to Jeff for his talk on climate training plans and opportunities.
Great. So you'll need to give the ball over to me. And I should be able to. Yeah, thanks, Stacy. I appreciate her jumping in to coordinate these. Again, we're doing them monthly. We hope and ask that anyone with a funded investigation through the CSC join these things, because what we typically do is have about half hour of some presentation, some review, but then allow a little round robin on funded investigations, see where things are going, see where they can kind of, if there's anything, especially the group should know about where they want to share information or tap into others and what they're doing. So I think I need to share my desktop, and I can do that, and people should see something that says the title of this talk. So, good. So, following, this is about a 20-minute kind of, or maybe 25-minute overview. At the last Climate Science Center meeting, there was some discussion about training and opportunities and education. I thought, well, we are doing kind of a handful of things, and in some ways they're being done at the center and with other various entities, and it would be good for funded investigations and the University Consortium to be aware of them. And then, maybe we can have a few minutes to talk about where people could step in. But I at least wanted to provide this as just for folks information as to what we're doing. Kind of roughly speaking, the training programs, and a lot of times people think of more the education as far as undergraduates, graduates, and postdocs, and that type of education, or teaching classes and doing seminars at the universities, and that's certainly a part, and a critical part, of what we're doing. And in fact, the part of this talk is to ask you to make sure we stay that with Stacy, kind of keeping track of who's on given projects, to keep track of which students are on the project. At least once a quarter, the USGS asks us for what we're doing with people sort of roughly under 25 years of age. The USGS is keenly interested in it. The Department of Interior, with youth initiatives, is keenly interested. It's a big concern of Sally Jewell. She really wants to get that training in those youth activities noted, and so that's part of it. But then there's also professional development, some intensive training, and some online material. So I've just got a few slides kind of going through all of these to let people know, starting with the traditional student training, and just this is what listing in terms of all of what those youth initiatives are include the K through 12. A lot of times with the University Consortium or with our funding, it's more on the graduate student postdoc side, but anything related to that is relevant and should be reported up, as well as undergraduates, graduate, and postdoc. And so I don't have much information on the traditional training other than to say Stacy will be coordinating this, sort of any funded project. Their team will be part of the Confluence page. We ask that you keep your students and your postdocs noted on that page and work with Stacy to do that, so that we don't have to bother you every time our headquarters bothers us. we just check the Confluence page and the tracking on that. And if you're not familiar with Confluence, we talked about it at a previous monthly check-in, but we could take it offline, and Stacy did a nice demonstration. We talked about it at the University Consortium meeting that took place 2 weeks ago, and it's an online tool for us to do some project management and share information. Moving on to the training programs and professional development that we're focusing on, two main entities come to mind, although there are others, and I know through the University Consortium folks are engaged with a host of different kind of activities, but kind of separate from the traditional university clientele, there's the professional development in terms of Department of Interior professionals are mainly reached through the National Conservation Training Center, or NCTC, and we've worked a bit, and working more, and other CSUs are working with this Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals, ITEP. Let's go on to that. At the NCTC, if you search and find their website, you can type in training search on climate, and they have a growing curriculum, or a decent curriculum, but it's not overwhelming. And this is what happens if you type climate in that on that website, you'll get these. And the arrows here show the focus of what the North Central Climate Science Center has been focusing, has been working with, namely the climate change vulnerability assessment. Brian Miller, who's staff here at CSU with the Climate Science Center, is now an instructor for that. I've been an instructor for it. It builds on the Scanning the Conservation Horizons document, which kind of Interior is using for their climate change vulnerability assessments. There's also two other courses that have kind of come online in the last 3 years. Climate Smart Conservation, which is more for planners or people kind of doing a big picture of integrating climate plans into their management area. And vulnerability assessment is a part of that, but a relatively small part in the general picture of kind of just developing those plans to consider climate. Both of those are multi-day classes. I think it depends on each offering, but typically they're 3-day classes. The other, and you see here, the Climate Smart Conservation. There's another course that is currently none are being offered, so I don't know when it doesn't show up here on the list, but the scenario planning and training on scenario planning is one that we've been connecting with and tracking, and we will continue to do so. But you see there's other classes that are listed here, and it's sort of maybe kind of just having so many resources to dedicate to it, not that these other classes are necessarily bad or any less than the courses that I've got with the arrows here. But the idea that we had even now 2 years ago was that we wanted to develop a relationship with the Conservation NCTC, and that was with a stronger connection with NCTC by providing trainers. And I think we've done that as Brian has stepped up to be an instructor, that I've done some instructing. But I would open it up to all the folks on the line. If you're interested in engaging with any of these courses, or you have bright young scholars, postdocs, or PhD students that are interested in it, that opportunity would be there, I believe. And the way they work it is that you take a course once, you do it again as an instructor in training, and then from then on you can kind of be an instructor. Obviously, they want to have some relevant educational background to be a part of that, but that's sort of how they make sure that you're kind of indoctrinated into the program. But that really is about it, just kind of attending, and by the third time you could be an instructor. The other thing we've worked with, and Geneva Chung really helped us with, the one we did in Jackson, Wyoming, is to provide regional offerings. We're providing some travel support for this one that's coming up in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And that's just an idea to kind of to say that it's less travel expense. You can make the case studies more regionally relevant. In the La Crosse, Wisconsin, we'll be talking a lot about the climate projections for the Great Lakes area. The case studies are all kind of in that area. It was mainly sponsored by the Fish and Wildlife Service, but we're sending a few people there, and Brian and I are being instructors. So, these regional offerings are useful. We also haven't made a lot of headway on this, but trying to use those email lists of participants, or to bring those connections, kind of stay in touch with people who have taken those classes, and that they would be, obviously, land managers who are, have some responsibility for some management and interested in climate change. And so we've got kind of a social network through those courses. And then we have done here with the climate change vulnerability assessment of sage grouse has brought some case studies from the course to a semester-long research course. And I know the Southeast Climate Science Center has done that as well. So if you're looking to get students integrated with some hands-on land management, people doing some things, sending a student to a course and then that student bringing the topic, to a master's project or just a semester-long project is something that could help foster that connection. Now moving on to the ISEP. I guess I can pause if there's any questions on the National Conservation Training Center stuff. Okay, so the professional development, mainly with tribal environmental professionals, is this ISEP group. They've done a lot. They have a lot of courses, and I just kind of grabbed their newsletter and to say that in learning more about it, it's a really well done newsletter. It comes out once a month. You won't be inundated with email. Every now and then they'll have like a special note that'll come out, but I would say from subscribing to the newsletter, you get about 2 or 3 emails a month, and it's not bad. If anybody's interested in kind of tribal environmental professionals and issues, I'd encourage you to write to Susan Watkins at Northern Arizona University, who leads the newsletter. And there is information there about training and opportunities. And it's pretty condensed and packed newsletter that's packed full of information. And I participated in one of their trainings. The South Central Climate Science Center has worked a lot more closely, or more involved with them, but it is another training activity that we are at least staying in touch with and aware of. Going on to the intensive training sessions, there's 2 examples. The Northwest Climate Science Center does a boot camp, and they do a really good job of bringing kind of a cohort of the young climate professionals, and these can be anyone really who is kind of just starting out in a climate career. And the hope, I think, with the organizers of the climate boot camp was to get people who will be working with the Climate Science Center for a couple of years and build kind of a group of other people who will be working with climate science centers across the 8 climate science centers for a few years, and that you build kind of a relationship with those people, and you're kind of in the trenches, so to speak, to kind of learn about how the things work and then learn from each other as it develops. This is usually offered once a year, kind of in early August, and they try to avoid conflicts, but it's the same time as Ecological Society of America. That's just kind of a note. And I went for the first time this last year and thought it was really an interesting and worthwhile training to get that cohort together. The other thing, or another example, and this is one that we've done here, was it's more a technical training, but it's the software for assisted habitat modeling. It gives you an overview of the BizTrail scientific workflow. Colin and Marion that are on the call here, and then Catherine Jarnovich, also with USGS in Fort Collins, run that training. It's offered every 6 months. I got some details on that, but the idea would be that it's kind of more of a technical folks who are using geospatial kind of species distribution modeling. And again, we're operationally now offering that or twice a year, and this last 2 days. The SOM training I've showed this slide before, that we can bring together kind of field data, climate variables, and species distribution modeling, and the land managers. It sort of makes sense to bring them together. The resource for advanced modeling was a little bit of a diversion, but showing that BizTrails, which is the topic of that training that's offered every twice a year, gives easy access to relatively easy, maybe I should say, suite of climate data, kind of showing transparency on the inputs used for the modeling procedure, visual outputs that kind of see how the climate contributing to ecological models, and ability to explore what-if scenarios. So that's my 5-minute or maybe 2-minute overview of what BizTrails and species distribution modeling does. That we do have, this is kind of another display of that scientific workflow in the software that you learn. I put the pieces together, remote sensing, field observation, climate predictors, and then you get some distribution maps. I know that Montana State University has done this, and they had folks from there take the training and been able to use it. So this is in the resource for advanced modeling, so you have the visual that kind of can be part of the results of that. So here's the dates for 2015. Also, if you look at the URL, you'll go to the fact sheet that does have those dates listed and tells a little bit more about the course in general, and then the contact information for Catherine Jarnovich, who handles the registration for that. So going on, just to have a few slides about online material. I find the best source out there seems to be far and ahead is this METED through the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, or UCAR, or NCAR. This is the website there, METED. And interestingly, unlike the NCTC where there's 9 classes that come up if you hit climate, this thing is dedicated to meteorology and climate modules. They show a lot of NASA data, how to get at NASA assets and try to use those data. You have to register to go through their modules. Some of the modules you have to pay for, but there's many that you can just get for free, and they do a really nice job with graphics. If you've got an ecologist that comes into a graduate program and they're going to be working for a climate project, have them spend a couple of days going through some of these modules, and we can work with you or the NCAR people to point you to. But kind of Climate 101, really nice graphics, like some quizzes to test your knowledge along the way as well. And so, like, for example, though, I went up here and searched on climate, and there's over 3,000 results of modules and training related to climate. And even something as specific as climate modeling downscaling, ECSD, at 38 results. That's popping up in 38 of those. So there's just a ton there, but a lot of what they do is really, really well done and worth exploring if people are interested in some online training. I find it to be kind of top-notch. The other thing, and this is again out of NCAR and UCAR, kind of somewhat the same group, a little bit of overlap, is the Climate Data Guide. And this is the URL down there that gives quite a bit. This is just kind of a summary of what you would get with DayMet, and it kind of tells you a summary, metadata, data access references. A really helpful guide for climate data. Not so much theory behind climate as the METED does, but some of the data sets. It's a pretty useful clearinghouse for that. So,
Jeff, that slide's really old.
Well, this slide
DayMet's now being hosted at Oak Ridge.
This slide is only 6 months old, so maybe Climate Data Guide is not up to date.
Yeah, because, Peter's at Oak Ridge, and
yeah,
Oak
right.
Ridge is sponsoring now the continuation of the DayMet data set and has a whole website there, and I don't think NCAR is even continuing that data set.
Well, this would point you to, I think, Oak Ridge. This isn't live, it's just a screen grab, but it does say 2012, which I think is the latest stuff.
No, I think they just did 2013.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is since, before Peter moved to NCAR, it was stopping at about 98, wasn't it?
Yeah, the original data set only went to something like 98, and then when he was at NCAR, they did another 6-8 years, and then when he went to Oak Ridge, NCAR really didn't keep updating it, and then now Oak Ridge is taking it on. So you really need to get this caught up.
Well, I don't know if this. Well, this is interesting. Yeah, he does have University of Montana. I'll check into this. I think it does point to Oak Ridge. But this is not climate data at NCAR UCAR. It's their climate data guide.
Okay.
That points that point to a bunch of data sets.
Yeah.
So you can even
Give
do
it
that
a try and just see if it bounces to the Oak Ridge site, because that you really want to just make sure it's pointing people to the right place. Whoa.
I mean, so this is maybe this is a better screen grab because it shows you. You know, this is their home of alphabetically listed. So you know, you get all that. Let me see what it tells you. This is a do this in real time for you, Steve. So that's interesting. That Institute and PI. So this is live. So that's interesting.
Geez, we'll claim credit for everything, sure.
PI Steve running.
Yeah, that's right.
So it does just say up to 12. So okay, so this is you know, maybe not as up to date as I was hoping it would be. I did find it kind of nice to give the summary. Maybe okay, so that's I'll take a note to let the folks at NCAR UCAR know about this. They meant not exactly being up to date, and I don't think they have. We should check just. I'm guessing they don't have topo weather. Oops, wrong thing. Anyway, that's all I had. No results there. No, that's okay. I can't find anything here. So that was you know, kind of an overview of what's been going on and some training. And I think some of the two, if I had two main points, it was make sure Stacy knows of your the traditional training. You know, I didn't talk much about that, but that is a common question and very kind of you know it's high priority with Sally Jewell, DOI, and USGS. The other thing is the National Conservation Training Center seems to be a neat way to bridge between the universities and DOI professionals working in conservation, and our ability to bring climate to them kind of comes through that NCTC training. So with that, I can see if there's any questions. And if not, we can kind of just do a round robin. I don't know if Stacy, if you want to just go anything to add, or just we can.
Well, one thing that I wanted to do, but I don't want to jump into things, is give the dates for the spring, the tentative dates for the spring presentation, so that people can start looking at their calendars. But that's diverging off of the topic. So if anybody has questions, take those first.
This is Geneva. Hi.
Hi, Geneva.
Is there anybody on who has a phenocam? I'm looking at the list, and or who's related.
I don't think so. Looking at the list.
Okay. And maybe I'll just throw out there because I was excited. We did get our remote sagebrush phenocam updated to 2 solar panels and a much larger battery. Everything's working right now, and I guess I'll just provide the update, although no one's directly involved, that I think the next thing that I'll be trying to pursue with the group is really making sure that we have our analyses through the National Phenocam Network sort of kicking into gear now that we have multiple cameras out. So I think it's finally got some good legs, and I'll update everybody in December.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing. I noticed at the University Consortium meeting 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of interest in the phenocam observations, and I think that we're now starting to get data so we can think about actual analysis, connecting to climate, connecting to the Met data, and the whole AmericaView program. So we'll see that with Kevin Dobbs and with Geneva's talks. Kind of a phenology wrap-up of the year.
Any questions for Jeff before I move on? I think this will probably close out pretty
yeah, and
a little bit early.
We could ask the foundational science. It looks like Andy's on. I don't see Joe, nor Dennis or Shannon. but could open it up, Andy, if you have any updates from the Impacts Foundational Science area.
Thanks, Jeff, for a nice presentation. It's quite interesting on the training stuff. We just, I guess the key thing is we just hired a postdoc. He's
yay! Everybody. Excellent news.
Yeah, and he'll start in late October doing species distribution modeling and phenology modeling, and hopefully participating really fully with all of you and postdocs and so forth, part of the program. That's the main thing that's happening on that end right now.
Great, that is good news. So congrats on getting that routed through. I know hires can be challenging to find the right people, and as well as the administrative bureaucratic side of it. So great to hear. Anybody else with an update or comments? Open it up, round robin. All right, well, maybe just list the dates, then maybe Andy, the new postdoc would be a good candidate talk for starting in 2015.
Quick learning curve.
Well, just kind of what I'm sure he's done some good stuff, so maybe just sharing his background with the group would be useful.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. At some point, and Jeff, I'd like you to. I'll arrange for you to meet him, and then we could sort of decide what would be a good schedule, good timing that allows him to get his feet on the ground, but then also could be used to introduce him to a broader group.
Right.
Okay, well, with that, I'll let you know the dates for 2015 for the spring semester for these monthly check-ins will be January 27th, February 24th, March 24th, and April 28th. So if any of your teams are interested in presenting, let me know, and otherwise I'll be following up with individuals and requesting a presentation. So if somebody would like to volunteer themselves, that would be great.
Yeah. Go offline too, just to stay in touch with Stacy.
Yeah, feel free to do that offline.
The open science meeting that we're working on to save the date, or I think there was some information going out on that, is May 20th through the 22nd. So that would probably be, maybe that would supersede a May monthly check-in call. We just have that, but we would need to fill the 4 before that, and it'd be good to get any folks that have something they want to share.
Yep.
Out to the group.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Yeah, make it a quick one.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I didn't chime in. This is Nolan Duskin here at the Colorado Climate Center, and you offered a chance to chime in, and I let it slip by. I have a question for the group, and that is, we got a question yesterday from a scientist in New Mexico who is looking at the relationship of plant senescence and temperature, but is trying to narrow down the impacts of precipitation on that as well. And he was trying to track down sources of photo documentation of fall color change in a variety of Rocky Mountain region vegetation types, and just wondered if any of you have some useful information I could pass on.
Nolan, this is Geneva, and I don't have it open in front of me right now, but it seems like the National PhenoCam Network could be a good place to check, and you could look at their overview map of where they have phenocams in the network.
Yeah, I was glad you
Then,
brought that up because I was forgetting about that. That's underway now.
yeah, and so all those, you know, those photos get archived. So
Right, makes it
that
invaluable.
puts the book back. And then, yeah, I think that's where I would start in terms of.
Are you still on the WebEx, Nolan?
Yes.
So you should see now what that map, but you could go to it yourself, of course.
Yes. Yes, that's great.
So it looks like there's a handful in New Mexico, and then you've got Niwot Ridge, and I forget what this one is. Oh, that's Geneva.
That's me. The other one is just conifers. That's the thing. I don't know what the scenes will be. You know, what type of, yeah, you can see what kind of edge they have. Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
That's
and then, of course, there's the National Phenology Network.
Sure. Yeah, we've referred him there already, but we were looking for some other possibilities.
Oh, those are cool.
Pretty close, too. It's interesting to explore maybe a climate gradient in here with these guys. I don't know what that...
Is that Sevietta? No, that's further.
It's very, very descriptively called IBP. Idea what that means. That's maybe a little more descriptive. I about it. And again, yeah, so I don't know, but at least there's some...
Need something to somebody, not us.
Oh, International Biosphere Program.
Oh, is that what you think that is? Okay. So, yeah, let us know, Nolan, if you can communicate with them, maybe CC Geneva or I, or at least kind of let us know how it goes, if there's anything else we can do to help.
Yeah.
We are setting some up in the region.
Yeah, I would love to be CC'd on that.
Okay, and I think he'd love it if he saw 1,000 cams on there.
Yeah, right.
But this is a great start.
And I think most of the phenology modeling, like Mark Schwartz model, really runs on temperature, but you got to figure in anywhere in the Southwest or even kind of Great Plains, if you're out, then there's a precip element to that.
Yep, indeed.
So.
Great. Hey, thanks.
Yeah, sure. The kind of conversations that make the calls worthwhile. Okay, well, maybe with that, anything else? Well, thanks everyone for calling in. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.